In the early 1970s, the American economy was in a recession, and a lot of companies, including instrument companies, were negatively affected. Gibson had recently been through some rough times and had made it out by the skin of their teeth. Whereas Gibson's guitars were still in the hands of musicians everywhere, their basses weren't so popular because people just preferred the Fender designs. And they just knew that they needed to do something a little differently. So it was time to create another model. The Gibson Grabber was Gibson's first bass guitar with a bolt-on neck. They needed to compete with Fender's prices, and they needed to compete with Fender's designs. So they decided if you can't beat them, join them as far as the neck construction went. And they put together the Grabber. These were actually affordable basses, but while they were affordable, they were popular everywhere. They became well known and were played even by the likes of Gene Simmons from Kiss, and even by Brothers Johnson. But it's estimated that the early 70s Gibson Grabbers, there were probably no more than 7,000 of them made. And I'm holding one of them right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Gibson Grabber Bass. The date for sure is unknown. I've tried two different methods of dating it, and the main method I tried yielded that this was most likely a 1973 Gibson Grabber that came into my family's possession in the 80s. But it's a very, very cool piece of bass guitar history. Let's hear it a little bit. Guys, it's Rumblin' Man coming to you today from Florida. I appreciate you being here on my channel. It means the world to me that you would tune in. Recently, I was trying to decide what video to make next, and I polled my viewers, and the one that got the highest votes was to make an awesome artifacts video of this Gibson Grabber bass from the 1970s. And one very, very cool, very identifiable aspect is this floating pickup. The way the Gibson Grabber got his name was that you literally grab the pickup and you place it wherever you want it. You either place the pickup in the neck position, in the bridge position, or somewhere in the middle. And by doing that, you can get a range of tones. And then you have your single tone knob and single volume knob. But a very cool and very different design for Gibson at the time. I love how thin this bass is. I just love the maple. It's held up so beautifully over the years. This bass is more of a joy to play now than it was 20 years ago. And I can vouch for that personally because this is the bass that I learned to play on. This video is part of my Awesome Artifacts series, and in this series, this playlist, which you can check out a link to up there, we take a look at older pieces of gear that are no longer made. And some of them are all stock, all original. Others have been slightly modified over the years, but this particular series of videos is kind of a celebration of the great gear that has come and gone that we can find sometimes here on the Rumblin' Man channel. So if you want to see more videos like this one, stay tuned, subscribe, because there's definitely some more cool stuff coming. I currently have this Gibson Grabber bass from the 70s strung up with some DR Legends, which is DR Strings flat wound offering. I reviewed these not too long ago, which you can see at the link above, when I had them on another bass. But when my friend Jesse Valenzuela encouraged me to get the old Grabber out and clean it up and get it back to work, I busted this out. And I want to thank my buddy Jeff, who kind of got it back in play and shape for me. Everything on the bass is original, except for there's a circuit in it that had to be replaced. But other than that, everything's original. And we put on these DR flat wound strings. So Jeff, thank you for your work. This is a really cool piece of history, and I've been playing it a lot. So one question you hear is this, we can demo it in the neck and in the bridge positions all day, but what about in the middle? Well, let's do this next demo with the pickup in the middle position, add a little bit of chorus, and see how that sounds. Actually required extra long scale strings when they first came out because they are actually loaded from behind. But yeah, that's going to give you some really good sustain with this bass. It's always had a good sustain to it, and it's always had kind of a vintagey tone to it. It's never for me been a tone that I thought was really cutting edge and modern. Another thing that Gibson did differently than usual when they made these is that they did a scarfed neck joint. So what we've got here is the headstock and the neck are actually originally two different pieces of wood that are joined within. They most likely did this to, cut corners with cost, as they were trying to make a bass that was budget friendly to the buyer and also budget friendly to Gibson. So they went with as few parts as they could. They went with the cheapest, routes of production that they could, and did things like this. But what's funny is this bass has been in my family for so many decades, and I can say this: it's just a testament to how some of these companies will make something and say that they're making an affordable product, because this affordable product by Gibson has held up now for well over 30 years, man, and I still play it. Years later, they released the Grabber 2, and then there was the G3, the Grabber 3, which I thought was so cool. I thought it was so neat how they had the 3 pickups on it, and you could hear them all at once. I would love to get my hands on one of those someday. So to have this cool piece of Gibson history and of bass guitar history is really neat for me. So this is Rumblin' Man's Awesome Artifacts. What do you think of this thing? Let me know. Have you ever played an old Grabber? Do you have one? Do you know somebody who does? I know a lot of people who know someone who has one. I know one other guy who owns one. So I think it's just a really neat piece of history. And do you have any more information that maybe I don't know about this bass? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. And as always, God bless you guys. Thanks so much for tuning into my channel today for this fun video. Do me a favor and go and subscribe to my channel so you can see more videos like this one. Go on and like the video if you enjoyed it today. You can also feel free to hit me up on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Rumblin' Man. I'm on a couple crowdfunding websites in case anyone out there would be interested in helping me make more frequent videos and to do so with upgrades. I could really use your help, but there's never any pressure to do that, because obviously I just want you to be blessed by the content we're making here at Rumblin' Man. So So guys, keep rocking. Thanks so much for checking out this video today, and I'll see you on the next one.